Hey, I'm Evan, one of the co-founders of Homegrown, and I'm excited to talk to you today about how to take better photos and improve the photos that you have in order to generate more sales on your online homegrown storefront. I want to just take a quick moment and take a look at some of the photos that we commonly see, and these are live storefronts on Homegrown around photos. And I think that you'll afterwards have a great idea about how to improve and edit these photos. So right here, I can see like a reflection in the actual photo of somebody taking the photo. That is a bit of a distraction from your product. I think it's worth taking it out and then putting it on a solid surface background. Maybe even have, if you're selling only one of these, bagel dogs, which sounds super interesting. I began to try a bagel dog. If I had it just by itself, I think would look really interesting and a lot, better than having five in a row. One of them is kind of cut off. You got the screen in the background. You have some like dirt and some scuff marks on the glass. So that one can be definitely improved, and I think you'll see more ideas here. This one, the grates make it kind of hard to see the actual ingredients. I think a top-down image of this would do better. I like this as a secondary image. You can add multiple images on your homegrown storefront for each product. But I think I'd like to see this at least turn even. It kind of is hard for my brain to visualize the product or see it when it's at this angle. It's also distracting to see all the wires. I feel like it would be really good to take this out, get a white piece of paper, take a top-down photo with some natural light, and it would look a lot better. Now going to Five Loaves. I actually know, for the Five Loaves team personally, and I know that they have some remarkable photos. This is just not one of the better ones. Here, it's like the lighting's kind of yellow and it doesn't show, I don't think, the details really well. The black pot as well as the cooking paper here, it just doesn't look that great to me. I've seen other examples of product photos, which they have. Well, maybe I'll actually pull that up. Here they have much better photos. This one is great, a solid background with the product right in front, and these little videos are great too. Here's a great storefront photo of Colleen, and you can go in here and see some other photos that they have, and they do a really good job. But right here, it looks kind of a little bit yellow, not great. All right, this one, again, I would love to see maybe all of the ingredients next to it, a top-down photo with the lid off, better lighting. You can kind of get away with some of the window reflections and removing the grate. A solid background is going to make this one look better. And I feel like maybe in this case, do without the label. I feel like the label doesn't look really professional and it's maybe a detractor. So if you can't change the label, you could probably just undo the photo and then put a bunch of strawberries around it. And then kind of around the actual top of the lid, and take the lid off, and then take a photo with some good natural lighting, and that would look really good as well. All right, now here's ones that I think Frugally Bougie has been with us for a while, and I think that she has several photos that look good, and she has some other ones that I think could be improved. This one I really like. I don't know that it needs to be the header or the main image. It could be a secondary image, but one top-down photo of this, like directly above top-down photo, would look really good. And then also, having this as one of the photos, I think gives a good sense of scale and size, but the lighting is good here. And you can see how some of these look better than others. Like here, the photo lighting looks kind of yellow. In an ideal world, you have a consistent photo background for all of it. So it just looks very professional. They all look consistent on the themes. That could be grass, like what I showed you for the Five Loaves storefront. That could be a piece of white paper if you have really colorful products, but we want to kind of have a consistent theme, ideally, on your storefront. But I do like how she has some of these other fruits and vegetables so that you get a sense for what actually goes into the products. It just feels like the lighting is a little off. So like right here, I think this is like halfway to great. I would take a white piece of paper. I would take the juice, white background, before, bottom and behind, and then take a photo looking onwards towards the logo. And then you could like stack up some fruit, cut up the fruit as well to kind of give you some of the visuals of the fruit itself. So hopefully that gives you a good idea around what you can do to make your photos look different. Just looking at some real life examples. To edit them, you just go to your vendor dashboard by, let's go find homegrown.com, actually go to our staging environment and come here, click on your vendor dashboard, go products. If you can obviously add a new product, but here I'm going to edit and then click the edit button, and then I can upload photos. You can have up to 10 images and upload those here. Okay, now let's get into how to take better photos that sell really well. You don't need a fancy camera or a studio. Really just a few minutes with some natural lighting and a few pieces of white paper. You're gonna have some awesome photos for your storefront. So I look at these every day, and some examples that you probably saw there as well is that a lot of these are taken on a dark kitchen counter or at night. They're blurry shots from too far away. You have multiples of the same product in that header first image. Other mistakes is like cluttered backgrounds with dishes, keys, wire grates in there, photos with harsh overhead lighting or ugly shadows, or stock photos, which is not great, or clip art instead of the actual product. I see that often. And all of those are detractors from selling more of your product. And another thing that sometimes happens is no photos at all. Now, pretty soon, we're going to be requiring you to have a photo to publish a product. So that will kind of go away, but you need to have great photos. If you're just getting started, a photo is better than no photos. So if you're just setting up your storefront, just snap a quick photo, get your product live, and start sharing it. But these are all things to improve the conversion rate or the percentage of people that go into your storefront actually check out and buy a product. So better product descriptions, better product photos, and more convenient pickup locations are the three things that are going to increase the percentage of people that go onto your homegrown storefront and then actually check out and buy a product. So a photo matters more than anything else. A description, I really believe a great description can sell a product, but the photo is going to be the thing that stops them in their track. And so if they're scanning your storefront and they're curious about all of your products, and you want to really have some great photos. And it takes about 2 seconds for someone to make up their mind on if they want to buy your product or are interested in it by a product photo. A good photo does a few things. It makes them stop scrolling. So if they're not even on your storefront and they're just on the marketplace, because all of your products get listed on our marketplace as well, it's going to catch their attention. So a better product photo is going to catch their attention. It's also going to build trust. When you have better, higher quality photos, you're going to come across as a more professional vendor, and it's going to make your products look appealing. You know, if you have bad lighting, a blurry background, there's dirt everywhere, it's going to make your products feel cheaper and not as high quality. And ultimately, that's going to help you justify your price. So premium photos are going to result in a higher price point, and you're going to be able to sell more products. I have a few short-term rentals, and that's the whole name of the game, is to have great rental photos. And that increases the number of bookings that we get on our rentals. So the way to think about this is, why would you buy sourdough from a dark, blurry photo of someone's kitchen counter? Or you could buy one with a golden crust on a clean wooden board and natural light. You know, those two make a pretty stark difference. You know, an example of that would be like right here. Like this is much more appealing than like a dark photo on a blurry photo with a dark kitchen counter. Same bread, just a different photo. The good news is that you only need 3 things. You need your phone. Any iPhone or smartphone made in the last 5 years should be okay. Generally, the newer the better, but 5 is fine. A window, so having some natural light. If you're in, your house, you want to basically undo every single curtain that you can or shade and get as much light into your house as possible. And then you also want to have a clean surface. So make sure that you wipe it up, make sure it's a consistent color, and it looks in high contrast to your products. You don't need a ring light, you don't need a tripod, you don't need a DSLR camera or Photoshop. Everything that you want to do here to have good product photos takes less than 5 minutes per product. Natural light is everything. This is the first rule. And this will make and fix like 80% of bad photos instantly. I think what makes this photo of this lady and these, this fruit so great is that it's got great lighting. So making sure that you've got great natural lighting. And the way to do that is to find a window with indirect natural sunlight. You don't want like a strong beam coming in and landing straight on your product because it's going to blow the contrast out. And a window on a cloudy day is great, or something that's not like directly in that bright sunlight. If you have direct sunlight, it's just gonna ruin the contrast. The second thing is that you want to place your products next to the window within like 2 to 3 feet. Again, slightly indirect sunlight. And then take the photo facing towards the window so that some light falls on it's basically going to give you better contrast and help illuminate your product more. And then lastly is you want to shoot during the day, ideally morning or early afternoon are best, but you don't have to work your schedule around that. It's just what's ideal. And here's some things not to do when it comes to lighting. Don't use overhead kitchen lights. They create very harsh contrast and down shadows, and it gives everything a sort of yellow-orange tint. Don't use your phone's flash. It actually flattens everything and makes it look very unappealing. And then don't take photos at night, like under artificial light. Even if you bake at night, set the products aside and photograph it in the morning. If your photos look dark or yellow, it's almost always a lighting problem, and moving them closer to a window in daylight is going to help solve that. The next thing is that you want a clean, simple background. This background right here basically makes that sourdough starter stand out and contrast really well. And so you want to, basically make the product the hero of the image, not the countertop. Good backgrounds that you likely already have is a clean white towel or dishcloth laid really flat without stains on it, a wooden cutting board, a plain white plate or a sheet of paper, marble or butcher countertop, wiped clean, looking very consistent in texture, and a piece of parchment or craft paper that you could pick up at Walmart or some sort of other store near you. Next, you want to avoid cluttered countertops with other items visible or some sort of patterned tabletop or busy surfaces that compete with your product. You really want your product to just be the only focus and let the background kind of fade in the picture. Your stove, sink, or appliances in the background is going to look not great. Random objects like keys, mail, cups, or packaging materials also doesn't look great. So let's make sure that we get those out. So the general rule is that if it's not your product, it shouldn't be in the photo. So before you take the shot, look at all edges of the frame and remove anything that doesn't belong in the photo. The rule number 3 is to get close and show texture. Great thing about Homegrown is that you can add up to 10 images. So pick your very best image that captures the whole product in that first image. And then after that, images 2, 3, and 4 can get more and more detailed on the texture. Most vendors take photos from too far away. And I'd say that this is actually not a great photo. I would actually, if I was the cameraman from right here, I would come around to this side and I'd get much closer. And I think that that would be better. Maybe even, I wouldn't even do it on this background right here. I'd probably have some sort of white tablecloth that would work better. But get close enough so that the product fills most of the frame, or 2/3 of the frame is good too. So show texture by product type. So for food, show the texture, the crust of the sourdough, the crumb inside, the drizzle of the cookies, the seeds on the bread. The texture is the thing that's going to make people hungry. For products like soap and candles, you want to show the surface detail, the label, the color, get close enough that they can almost kind of feel it or imagine it. For stuff like produce or eggs, you want to show the color and the freshness. Deep orange, deep oranges, red tomatoes with little stems on it, bright green herbs. That high contrast is going to come through really well. And then lastly, for jars, stuff like honey, jam, hot sauce. I think a top-down angle does really well with the ingredients around it on the outside. So angles that work, don't just shoot one. I would encourage you to basically take like 20 or 30 photos, and then you can go back through them afterwards and see which ones work best. But here are some examples around, the 4 best angles. Again, this is subjective, but gives you some ideas. The top one, this is generally my favorite, is that you get directly above your image and without casting a shadow on your product, you just do that bird's eye view down. The next one is the 45-degree angle. Again, trying to imagine a 45 degrees looking on your products, roughly at eye level when your product's on the table. The next one is straight on. So that's when the product is here and you're kind of show your camera at this angle. So we kind of move from here to here to here. And then lastly is the slice or cross section, is to cut one side in half. And you can open it up and show the actual insides of the product, which look great. You can always delete the ones that don't work. Rule number 5 is to style it very simply. If you can add in a little bits of details to give it some contrast, I think that would work really well. Or give it, some more context around the ingredients. That can be good, but kind of keep it minimal. Examples of this is like sourdough. Have a loaf on a cutting board with one slice cut off with a small dish of butter nearby. Another example of this could be, eggs, carton open, showing the eggs, one cracked into a bowl or pan. I wouldn't use this necessarily as the hero image, but one of the images could be good. Jam, open jar with a spoon in it next to some toast. I think that looks great. You can even put it next to some toast. Don't overdo it. 1 or 2 props is maximum, but keep the focus on the product itself. So quick reference on product, photo types, ideas, I guess, that you could start with. Baked goods, show the texture in the crumb, cut it open, shoot top down, 45 degrees, and give warm tones on a wooden board. Another example of this could be jars, starting with the 45 degree and the top down, and show the colors in high contrast, of white background. I think would look really good. So here's an idea around like before and after in terms of like the actual setup and like what is going to deliver better outcomes. So before, imagine taking a photo at night under the yellow kitchen light on a cluttered countertop. The bread looks flat and brownish. In that photo I showed you of 5 loaves, that was kind of the case. And the other one was taking outdoors or next to a window in the morning on a clean wooden cutting board, like this photo, showing the texture and the details, but also keeping the product the hero of the image. Same bread, basically. The only difference is the light in the background. Same camera and everything. Now on to editing. You don't need Photoshops or any sort of paid apps. Your phone's built-in phone or photo editor can work really well. You might want to adjust the brightness just to move it up slightly if it looks a bit dark. You might also slightly increase the contrast. And then if your photo looks too cool or blue, you might add a touch of warmth, but try not to make it look orange. That won't look good. So your action plan from watching this video is to pick your top 3 products to re-photograph. Find the window or place in your house or outdoors that has solid, indirect, natural sunlight. Pick a clean background. Get a couple different versions. Like I would probably get a tablecloth, a few pieces of paper, craft paper, a cutting board, a towel. Like just give yourself some other options and then shoot them and see which one looks best. Place them near the window and then take 3 to 5 different shots for each photo. Edit the photos on your phone very simply. Bump up the brightness and contrast ever so slightly. And then lastly, upload them to Homegrown, which is very simple to do, to go to your dashboard, go to products, and then upload photos from there. And then repeat just for the rest of your products. So your products are probably awesome. And the thing that's holding them back is likely photos. So adding a great photo, great description, and convenient pickup locations are ultimately going to help you sell more products. And we're here cheering you on, and reach out if you need any other support.